Well, we're going to start a new one now. We're going to have the Omaha Inland Port Authority review. We've been doing conversations with Cheryl Weston. We've been doing the City Council, and now we're going to add the Omaha Inland Port Authority. I know that won't make some people happy, but hey, life is not all a bowl of cherries. So let's begin. The meeting will be September 4th, 2025 at the Metropolitan Community College at 9 a.m. That's located at 5300 North 30th Street in Omaha, Nebraska, 68111. So what I've got in front now is the agenda. And it's basically kind of like the same thing as a city council, only there's a few changes on how they do certain things, but it basically all starts out the same way. Call the roll of order. They must have a quorum. And then it goes through the daily record when it was registered and put in the daily record, blah, 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 blah. So the first will be the approval of the August 7th minutes. And that is attached. And let me back up one quick thing because you can go and review this right here at their website if you choose to. Anyway, they have the roll call, then they say the approval of the minutes. And I'm really not going to go through the minutes part. Basically, that's the same thing that you can see online, but there will be some things down through this agenda that we'll click over and take a look at. The capital asset management policy, they will vote on this recommendation and it should pass. I can't see why it wouldn't. There again, it's similar to the city council. Um, However, I have found in attending some of these meetings, there is a little bit more pushback sometimes from the board than you get at the city council. There's very, very seldom, but hey. Anyway, and it goes on, and basically all it is they're showing a draft and of capital assessment, definitions and so forth, really kind of boring stuff. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that because there's several other items I really want to get to. And I don't want to keep people on this for hours. All right, let's moving along. We've got the approval to start drafting a strategic action plan, and that'll be basic to say, give the board approval to start that. I'm assuming it will be giving the director, Gary Clark, the approval to start whatever it needs to take place. And that is in the recommendations from the Real Estate and the Development Committee for board approval. And we'll get a chance to see some of that down the road here. Now, considering the applications for the CAG, that's the Community Advisory Committee, there are two openings on that. Now, that is where I do have some comments because when this started out, the Community Advisory Group was made up mainly of individuals from East Omaha, where they had originally planned to put this business uh, airport business park. That's where it were. And because that has been changed because of the law that was passed that they could go this it could be more than the 2 miles, where it is originally was 2 miles from the airport, but that had, due to the law that was passed in the last legislature, that isn't happening. So anyway, most of those board members or shouldn't say board members, most of the committee members were individuals who were in the East Omaha section where it was close to the airport. So my question is, now that two of those individuals has resigned, this should be opened up, shouldn't it, to include this new area so that people who are within those extended area where the park may be going to should have an opportunity to apply for those community advisory committee. And no, I do not want to apply. And no, I am not intending to apply. Then you'll move right into, but I'm hoping that something to be brought up about that. Um, and consider that. Next, we go into the executive director report, which we don't have. But next is the executive and governance. So this is where, as it says, it will be talking about, or they had talked about during the committee, these items mentioned. And so that's how come the Community Advisory Committee, they say there's vacancies and a review of the applications. Items, the vacancies for those advisory committee is, like I said, is where I have the problem at. Who knew about those? So it says the review of the applications. Where were those reviews at? Because it wasn't on the website. So moving along, after it gives that, the executive committee governs that report. The next is the real estate and development. Now, there are a few things here that I want you to take a look at, because guess what? Here we go. It's the same old, same old, same old, all the time. Negotiations and partnerships. Item number 3, the same residential developments, the same developers, the same individuals, all the time. North Omaha, always the appointed, whoever is the appointed. North Omaha gatekeepers, and you got Front Porch Investments, Spark CDI, Omaha Municipal Land Bank, Empowerment Network. We knew that the Empowerment Network was going to get on. When they had gotten their, what is it, like $10 million from the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, and they're like, they're going to put in 5,000 homes. Now they're into the housing. I mean, they're just all over everywhere. And yes, John Ewing, the new mayor, was a member of, or at least he was supposed to resign from it. Said he was, but I don't know, because I haven't checked that. We're going to have to check that. Empowerment Network, he was the one time on the board of that, vice president. He was an initial individual who started that with Willie Barney. The city of Omaha. Then you have the commercial development that they talked about. And this is where you have the airport business park with Omaha Economic Development Corporation and Burlington Capital. And then the innovation district. So those reports, so they had their talk with it. And here's something right here. Funding the sources. And I got a question on that. This funding, who, where? I mean, how shouldn't that be public information is where this funding's coming from or expected? Looking at approximately $11 million, Perkins Canal and other sources. Well, who are these sources? And then here's what is happening right here. I knew this was coming. North 16th Street Comprehensive Plan, Commercial and Residential Housing Affordability Action Plan. Okay. When I see this, it makes me think more, maybe I do want to apply for one of those community advisory committee members. That'll be a joke. So let me see why my application would not be accepted. Not hard to tell, huh? And then project opportunities and inquiries. So this will be interesting to see and listen to these potential projects, the tracking, the prioritizing, and how to handle those inquiries. That's what will come down tomorrow. Moving along. Now we go back and we have the finance report. Um, Review of the bank account structure, um, general finance process. This is what the committee talked about. Statement of net position, audit services, approval of the Bland and Associate to provide audit services. And my question would be, um, hmm, how was this determined that Bland and Associates would be? They said there was the RFP for audit services. So, how many audit companies, firms, whatever, how many received the RFP? When did the RFP go out? Then there's that capital management, so forth. And then they had the discussion with the airport business park and decided additional action items. Um, this is so tiny, none of you can see it, so I'm not really going to get into that. But you can go online, make it bigger. Here's the statement of position. Nothing too much different from that. And then the community advisory. So let's see what their committee reports. This was held, tells you what date, time, so forth, present at the meeting. And because of the way the law was written, whoever was the city council for District 2, which it ended up being Lavanya Goodwin, they must be voted on to the advisory committee, and the individual, Ashley Spivey, who was the Nebraska legislature senator for District 13, and that would be near the airport. So that would be, Lachka fits that. Now, absent was Randy Peavy, who is coming off of the committee, and that's one of the positions that are open. Approval of the agenda was distributed, so on. Here is where the updates from Mike Maroney with ECDC, and here's where they introduced Naomi Hadaway and Michaela McMorris. These are the two individuals with their company who will be doing the community engagement and community outreach for EC Omaha Economic Development Corporation in Burlington. The airport business park. And there will be 2 attendees from the Community Advisory Committee attending the retreat, which is great. The Creative Housing Campus Review. And, I don't know how many people know much about that. But it would seem like that this is something that should be public. There should be some, when you talk about community advisory group, well, why shouldn't this be something that the community should be brought in on? But it's the same old, same old. And, as I said before, nothing has changed other than a few names of the players. But the game that Omaha plays is still the same. As I said, here's the 2 positions from that would be leaving. These both were 2 individuals more closely to the original plan for that. Now, here's something right here is two positions for OIPA, which is the Omaha Inland Port Authority. However, when you go to the website, there it says there are no openings. So, if that's the case, I don't understand. How can there be two openings, but you say there's none posted? And remember, this is the Community Advisory Committee. So why is this additional space needed? Why is that within their parameters? I mean, why should it even be on their agenda? What do they have in this to negotiate for additional space? That's not clear. Um, so supposedly that'll come out tomorrow. I don't know. And then they talked about dates and times for the next meeting. All right. Now we're going to move along to the project reports. Now this is really, oops, I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. I want to go up, not down. Um, let's get back over here. Okay. Um, moving along. Sorry, I apologize. Airport business. Now, this was very interesting. If I can keep this mouse from jumping all over. Okay, mouse. Airport Business Authority report. Um, Here, as I said, LB 290, it extended it could be within the inland port district. Originally, it was less than 2 miles. Now it can be the 2 miles. And they talked about, and this is on their website, um, the limited release of funds that they received because it was such a mess when they came on. This was back in March, where there was no design that they came forth and said, oh, we don't have any money. We can't do this. We need to do ABC. We can't get past phase one and up. So they finally broke down. They gave them $7.3 million. And so it was supposed to be for the pre-development of the park, planning, design, site studies, and community engagement. Okay, moving along here. This is what you need to take, and this will be interesting to see if there's any questions. Because with the passing of the LB 290, they say the landowner engagement, we've had significant discussions with 4 owners of large parcels. Conversations with landowners within this expanded boundary have begun. However, they will not tell you exactly where, and I can understand part of that, so that if it got out to who, then and where, people might want to try to jack up the price or so forth. But this is what I'm saying. It's going to get out because if they talk to some of those landowners, don't you think those landowners are, their lips are talking, their mouth is running? Come on. Then community engagement. A meeting was had between the Innovation District, HR and AT, and community engagement consultants for Burlington and OEDC. They signed, and then you go to site option contracts. Appraisals has been received with some preliminary evaluations and are under evaluations as we present and have discussions regarding these site options. Feasibility studies. High-level feasibility studies have been conducted. Parcel specification evaluation will occur as needed. Infrastructure planning. All 3 areas identified for potential development have had the infrastructure analyzed. Conversations with initial business interests in the land have begun. So it said up here, 4 owners of large parcels. But down here, it says we're 3 areas. So four parcel owners, 3 areas. So does somebody own 2? That's a little questionable. Then here's where they talk about the milestone feasibility study. It was after the passage of LB 290, and that date is still ongoing. So let's move on here. Milestone for community engagement. Who's the community engagement consultants? Well, it's Eighth and Home and Moxie 16. So that would be those 2 individuals that we were listed above. That these are their companies, which was, I believe, Hadaway and what was the other person's name? Let me see. Here we go. It was right in here. Oh, there it is. Naomi Hadaway and Michaela McMorris. Okay. Now, these are the milestone progress. Community engagement. Initial landowner engagement. That's ongoing. But this one that was held in the first quarter of 2025, one-on-one meetings began. It started July 24th. It says, but one-on-one meetings began in the first quarter of 25, which would mean if it was the first quarter of 25, then it had to be underneath the old area. So, responses shared with OIPA in executive session. Appraisers has provided some initial valuations, conversations underway, blah, 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 blah. Now, let's move on. I tell you, this mouse is really moving fast. Can't keep it still. This is what's so interesting to me. This is the money, the financial. And a lot of people, one thing that you say, if you know Kimber Snipes, she always says, follow the money. And I believe in that, follow the money. Now, here's what is striking. They did all of this due diligence that they complained about. They need the money in order to do the due diligence and so forth. And look at this. The original budget was $900,000. Money spent to date is 0. The remaining is $900,000. But you did your due diligence. Property owner engagement, $300,000, but you only spent $53,000, or I'll give it $54,000. Still got this. Community engagement, $18,000. We'll move it up to $18,001. Okay. Now, here's your infrastructure. Remember when they said up above about that infrastructure? And I'm going to go back to that. Business recruitment, 0. Legal counsel, 0. Land acquisition, 0. Government funds consultation, mere 6,000. 94,000 remaining. Contingency, nothing there. Here's where how does this board look at something like this? Administrative fees, $607,000 was budgeted. You spent, since you got this $7,280,000. We're going to round it up. You spent that much. So you spent like close to half of it. Over 42% you have spent for administrative fees. And look what you've accomplished. Now, back up here, Where did it say ongoing completed? Oh, here we go. Landowner engagement for property owner, pre-planning, site options. They claim they had all these studies, they had infrastructure planning, business recruitment efforts, but then when you get down here to the right here, financial part, it something don't click. How you gonna have zero in there, but you said up there something else? Questions, folks. Follow the money. And then they go on the need for, and they're having these problems. And I like here this challenge number 2, continually shifting oversight requirements. They don't want to have oversight requirements from OIPA, Omaha Inland Port Authority. Do your job. You should have oversight. Right there. Complexity of potential projects and potential collaborations with this and extensive due diligence. Okay, extensive due diligence, but right here, you had $900,000 budget and you spent zero. How can it be a challenge? You haven't done anything that you put money in. What you made sure is that you get all of your administrative fees. So here's what they go 90 days. And I mean, if you really read this and look over it, it's like a joke. Engagement plan complete, community engagement consult complete, funding complete. It's unbelievable. And you, average Joe citizen, you're supposed to believe this? Development team. I don't know who put this together. Couldn't been somebody, I mean, even the intern could have put this together a little better. So then they have the questions and answers, supposedly. I thought this was rather interesting. This is the report prepared by HR&A. You can read through this. But the third paragraph right here. In addition to the community meetings, our team presented our progress on the Innovation District and met with Mayor John Ewing and his staff to discuss ways to integrate the district housing and anti-displacement strategies with the mayor's housing priorities. Our team is also advancing development of housing and anti-displacement strategies to meet OIPA's goals of developing 150 homes, minimizing displacement impactments. Okay. There again, kind of smells. And I know there's people who's gonna jump because I said something about the mayor and all blah blah. Hey, the mayor was elected and he does his job. He should be held accountable. The other one I looked at was, and I do give credit, I thought HRA did a pretty good job in the community engagement. And they say here the status is complete 100%. Here again, infrastructure guidance, outreach to utility providers and public works, all of that. Identify and profile innovation districts. That was very good. So I think they did a very good job in bringing more of the community together to make it be more of what people who live in North Omaha want to stay in North Omaha. Um, they did here collecting data and synthesizing findings on the social economic, and I want to highlight this for people. And you know what? They talk about no displacement. You don't keep mentioning this to be anti-displacement if there wasn't going to be displacement. And there will be displacement, folks. There will be gentrification. There will be increase in housing cost. Don't fool yourself. Do not fool yourself. It's coming. We have this. And if you go back up and you look at the players, Omaha Municipal Land Bank, the City of Omaha, Front Porch, Sparks, CDI, all of those are the players currently. And there's going to be gentrification and there's going to be displacement. So I think, like I still say, they did a good job of bringing it out, making it being as transparent as they can because they work for Omaha Inland Port Authority. So they have to be cautious or careful, or what's the word you want to say it, but they have to answer to them. So they just can't say and be everything. They're not working for us, the people. They're working for Omaha Inland Port Authority. The stakeholders workshops, the vision. I think all of this part was pretty good by HR and AA. So mainly this is when you look at, and this is why I say when you look at their amounts billed, the contract, budget, and so forth, it makes a little sense for what the work they've done. Whereas you look at Burlington and OEDC, the only thing they did was make sure that they got to build for their administrative fees. And then they had some other things that they listed here. But all in all, like I said, I felt like it was pretty good. But here's where we need to hold these folks accountable. We need to make sure when we get up here and you hear these questions, you need to have questions and answers. Hold them accountable because, folks, it's the same players doing this. And if we don't, I'm trying to warn you that displacement, this cannot happen without displacement. It cannot, and it will not. It will not happen without displacement and gentrification. And what gentrification means, and it has been proven, it is not in the best interest of those people who are already there. It is those who are coming in, those developers. So this is the Omaha Inland Port Authority. The meeting will be tomorrow at 9 a.m. at Metro Community College. And that's basically what I think we covered it all. So thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening. And hopefully we will be able to do a live tomorrow. And you'll be able to start asking questions. Thank you again and have a wonderful evening. Continue to watch Conversations with Cheryl Weston on YouTube, Conversations with Cheryl Weston on Facebook. We've even signed up and we'll soon be with Instagram, TikTok, and there's one we're missing. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, that's what we're going to be doing, trying to get more information because our goal is is to be able to get this information out to the community, and then, hey, it's all up to the community. It's all up to the community.